Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. My name is Laure Marville. I am an artist and the co-director of the Workmaster program, alongside with curator, researcher, and publisher Roxane Beauvais, right here. The Workmaster pedagogical team is completed by two wonderful assistants, Fig Doche and Niels Hung. We are located on the fourth floor of the Blue Building, le bâtiment A, le bâtiment bleu, just across the street. Feel free to visit us right after this presentation or later. We are here until 6 p.m.
Wonderful. Hi, everyone. So we're going to present for 20 minutes the Workmaster program, and then if you have questions, we can just go for a Q&A. So the Workmaster program is a bilingual French and English 2-year master program. It's dedicated to the contemporary studio art practice. So the program is fundamentally pluridisciplinary. It exists within the reflection of what artistic practice is in the world of today, which is a world that is ever-changing and evolving, and with a specific focus on different questions, for example, questions of diversity, the post- and decolonial questions, climate crisis, and the rapid evolution of technologies. Although it changes every year, depending on the guest professor and the project, it always combines different formats that encourage experimentation, exchange, and sharing between students, but also with the teaching team, pedagogical team. So the Workmaster accompanies the development of your personal practice. This is really the thing that we are doing. We're going to accompany your practice of studio with pratique d'atelier. We're gonna do that, like accompany your practice through studio work, experimentation, collaborative projects, and these practices are questioned through pedagogical projects in a wide variety of formats. So self-run projects that you start, one-to-one meetings with teachers, and group discussions with peers.
Okay, so now we're going to explain a little bit the courses, the classes. So teaching at the Workmaster is specifically designed around your studio practice. So to this end, each student is given a studio space at the beginning of the year, which you can arrange as you see fit according to the needs of your personal work. To support the development of your practice, the Workmaster is structured around a system of regular one-to-one appointments, what we call the rendezvous individuel. Basically, it's studio visits. And these hour-long exchanges with other artists, theorists, researchers, and curators provide an opportunity to share your research developments, the milestones, and your doubts. And at the same time, your studio practice will be nurtured by a series of courses. At the Workmaster, students must choose their classes from a range of elective courses. So, in other words, students are required to choose a specific number of classes depending on their stage in the curriculum. Like, for instance, first-year students must attend 2 lab zones and 2 think zones minimum per semester. But they are free to select from the available options based on the topics addressed and the mediums they use in their artistic practices. So the main course in the Workmaster program are categorized in 2 types, the lab zones and the think zones. So the lab zones are spaces for experimentation focused on practice, vraiment des cours pratiques. They are taught by Workmaster faculty members and also by invited artists. So each lab zone teacher offers a unique course, which can be compared actually to some sort of a long-term workshop that lasts 1 year. And those classes are developed in consultation with the Workmaster coordination team, namely Roxane and myself. So this year, the lab zone teachers include Mabe Betonico, who works on the creation of puppets and stories to investigate the notion of cultural and organical roots. We also have a lab zone taught by Magdalena Gerber, who is the head of the Cerco, the ceramic workshop of HED. And this lab zone links the notions of conservation, restoration, la restauration, and bricolage with a particular focus on ceramics and textiles. Fabrice Gigi, an artist whose lab zone aims to design and build modular structures for shaded outdoor rest areas, like hammocks, for instance. Rosa Menkman, which takes digital art as a starting point for exploring notions of scale and maps in order to conceive or reveal things. Maitu Pere, which examines the weaver's craft as a starting point for exploring, let's say the weaver's craft in general, but from a practical, historical, theoretical, and also a political point of view. We also have the pleasure to have a feminist cinema club held by Lily Reynaud-Dewar. I also propose a lab zone which is based on regular group discussion sessions and exercises in order to accompany the development of the studio practice of the students. And finally, we also have a lab zone autogéré, a lab zone that is organized by the students and that, as you can imagine, changes from year to year. So just two quick examples. So lab zones can have diverse outcomes, such as here a fashion show at the Mala Space in Lisbon as part of the lab zone taught by Marley Mull. And here, just an exhibition view of a show at Living Your Head, organized by Fabrice Gigi and the students from his lab zone.
Thank you. Alongside with the lab zones, we are what we call the think zones. And the think zones are theory-based teaching spaces. It's a place where students can develop the conceptual, critical, and scientific input that will underpin their personal practice. The think zones are designed and taught by theoreticians, art historians, curators, artist researchers, and from a wide range of fields. So for this academic year, we have, with me. So I teach a think zone that links together collective organizations, anarchist thinking, and experiment led by artists. Then we have Jay Jordan, an amazing artist who worked with the student with a proposal that interrogates the life beyond binaries through artivism, ritual, queer ecology, and magic. We also have Charlotte Lobar, a famous curator, whose research in visual studies explores how artworks can serve as social agent, either in the world of today or in the thinking of the history, and how they can really serve other purpose than just being art as art. Adina May from London interrogates how the exhibition shapes the global art world in the context of post and decolonial discourses. Then Ileana Parvu examines the relationship between languages and the practice in colonial context, and art practice in the colonial context. And last but not least, David Zerbib, who explores the change of moving images since the rise of artificial intelligence. As Laure said, for the lab zone, the think zone can themselves as well have different kind of outputs. Different kind of way to share what have been done during the lessons with the public. These are just two examples. The first one is this magazine issue, maybe you know it. So the students who have worked with Marie-Laure, Alain Bonilla, Think Zone, then have published their research in this magazine. It could be any kind of printed publication that is often the course output of the Think Zone, but it can also be very applied thinking, like for this exhibition that has been set up by Charlotte Lobar and their student last year.
Okay, so critical sessions, I guess most of you are quite familiar with what it is. It is a classic in art pedagogy. Also at the Workmaster, critical sessions are a super important part of the program. So as some of you already know, it is a time for presenting and discussing students' personal work. There are, as I said, a significant part of the teaching process, and also at the Workmaster, part of the evaluation system. It is in this matter almost as important as the juries. So critical sessions at the Workmaster are held every 2 weeks, during which students are obligated actually, to present their work in order to experiment with an exhibition context. So they present it to other students, to faculty members and guests, and yeah, we all have a discussion around it. So each student held 1 critical session per semester minimum to present their own work, and it is also required to attend and engage in the sessions of their classmates.
Yeah, this is really an example on how the pedagogical strategy is thought at the Workmaster, that it's not only from the teaching part to the student, but also it's very important the pedagogy that is among you as students. So then evaluation. So these ongoing evaluations that are the critical sessions are supplemented by a jury at the end of each academic year. These sessions consist of a moment of exchange around the exhibition of each student work. It's an opportunity for you to present your work in a setting that will simulate a real exhibition. So it's really important that we don't speak only about the work, but how it's hung, how we can speak about it, how the public interfere with it. The display and the work themselves are evaluated by a jury made up of members of the teaching staff, of course, but also external professional guests, and discussed with the student during a presentation of 45 minutes for every one of you.
No worries. And also, at the Workmaster, like in other MA programs in visual arts in Switzerland, students must also write a master thesis at the beginning of their second year. They're finishing it right now, actually. And yes, because the Workmaster is above all practice-based, studio-based, but it is also a quite theory-oriented program compared to other similar MAs in Switzerland and in the neighbor countries. So if you have absolutely no background in writing, there's absolutely no problem with that. But if you have no interest in writing, maybe it is not the best place for you. So Workmaster students are also required to write a master thesis, as I just said, during the second and final year. So this is a quite substantial theoretical written work developed under the guidance of a theoretical tutor from the Workmaster faculty. So the master's thesis is a research project that can take various forms. So it can be a traditional academic essay, but also an artist book, a narrative text employing fictional strategies, or even poetry or other things. We had a comic book, a police novel. So there are a lot of freedom, even though it's a quite serious part of the program. So the thesis is evaluated through an oral defense in the presence of a tutor and an external expert, and it's mandatory to obtain the credit, les crédits académiques, for the thesis before presenting yourself in front of the diploma jury in June.
So just a word about the typical week or the untypical week for the Workmaster. Because at the Workmaster, each week is different and each week can be different for each of you. As Laura said at the beginning of the presentation, as you're going to have to choose your own courses, you will not, all the students will not have the same week. So I put you just 3 examples of how it can be different. The thing that is important is that the program is designed as a 100% face-to-face program. The presence in the studio and at the course is very, very important. So although the individual choice of curriculum allows you or any student that needs it to have little side jobs, we really require you to be here, not only for the 2 or 3 or 4 lab zones and think zones that you have, but also to be present in your studio, to work in the studio in order to be able to exchange with the pedagogical team, with the other students. It's very important that it's a 100% in-person program.
Thank you. Just a few words on the collaborations, but you can have also more information regarding that on the website of HEAD. So with a view to professionalizing and broadening horizons, the classic Workmaster courses are also regularly accompanied by collaborations with external structures. And obviously, this is an opportunity for students to put their practice to the test in real world, meet new contexts, and start building a professional network outside the school. So here are a few examples of recent collaborations, but there have been more in the past. So Musée d'Ethnographie de Genève, Istituto Svizzero in Rome, and also some craftsmanship workshops. So the atelier, obviously, De Fil en Fil, which is a weaving workshop in Geneva. So yes.
And then I know that it's sometimes an important question when you have to choose a career option. So after the Workmaster, what will you be doing? So the Workmaster trains you to become professional artist. In addition to the course designed to develop your practice, you will also learn about professional art practice, notably in partnership with the Visarte union, le syndicat Visarte, which will teach you how it works in the real-life artist. And what's more, the multidisciplinary nature of the program will enable you to develop a range of technical skills, discursive and writing abilities, and project planning methodologies that are equally applicable and recognized by many cultural fields. Then, as a result, our students are regularly hired by different cultural organizations, for example, theater or publishing houses, magazines, gallery, exhibition space. The Workmaster program encourages autonomy and initiative in the project development, and therefore many alumni also set up their own structures. So there's a lot of students who go out of the Workmaster and start sharing workshops, sharing studios, or start publishing house, or set up artisan space, exhibition space that are then helping them to spread their work and their voice in this difficult art world.
Okay, and so before the Q&A, just a few words on the admissions process at the Workmaster. So first of all, the guidelines for master admissions in visual arts are explained in detail on the HEAD website. So in fact, thanks to our dear colleagues from the school administration, you will find detailed information in French, in English, on specific conditions, and obviously the deadlines. We therefore ask you, all of those that are actually potentially interested, to read this document in details. And that being said, just a few words that are more specific about the Workmaster admissions. So as you probably know, there are two rounds of admissions. The first base of an application file, le dossier d'admission. And, sorry. It's not that complicated. And yes, afterward, an interview en présentiel in our spaces with the admission jury. So the previous years have been actually quite selective at the Workmaster during the admission process. So that's why I strongly advise you to prepare carefully for your interview, which is anything but a formality if you pass the second round. So Roxanne and I will be placing particular emphasis on the criteria of motivation to become fully involved in the program. The Workmaster is not an artistic residency, but a demanding pedagogical program, and we value highly curiosity, commitment, and assiduity in studies. So be generous, assiduous, bold, and honest in your application. That can only serve you well. And for more information, feel free to go to workmaster.ch, and then you will have detailed informations and descriptions about all our faculty members and the lab zones and the think zones.
And now, if you have
questions in French or in English.
If there is no question right now, we're going to be in the Workmaster space until the end of the afternoon, so feel free to just pass by, visit the studio and everything.